All right, Tyrell, just reflections on the season, and obviously not making playoffs was disappointing for your group, but overall, how'd you see this season?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to. You want to make playoffs. That's the goal for every team, every group of players. That's why we play. And when you don't, you definitely miss the mark on that. That being said, it doesn't mean it's a total loss of a season. As a group, we were inconsistent as a group, but we also had some really good stretches as a group. I think there's a lot of learning to be taken away. And you know what? The group of guys in that room is fantastic. So regardless, we had a lot of fun in each other's presence, had a lot of memories that we'll cherish for a long time, that group of brothers that we fought in there beside. And at the end of the day, it wasn't quite up to the level we wanted it to be, but I think a lot of the guys in that room can say that they gave it all they had.
In terms of personal growth, I mean, every year you want to, whether it's a specific goal or whatever it's going to be, you set that for yourself, and then you see if you can achieve it. From your perspective, were you able to develop and grow this year in the manner in which you wanted?
You know what? In some aspects, yes. In others, no. I didn't take as big of a step as I wanted to personally. I can own that. I have a plan to make sure that doesn't happen again. That being said, again, there's always learning. You find the learning, you find the silver linings, and I do think I took some steps in other areas. Maybe it was personal life or dealing with adversity or things of that nature. So. Like I said, as a group, it wasn't the season we wanted it to be. That can sprinkle down into individual years as well. I think that as a group we had more to give. I think that at times I had more to give, and I'm willing to, take accountability for that, but also be committed to make the change in the summer to come back strong.
One of the things we always talk about is how inclusive this group is and how you guys welcome guys, whether they're from North America, elsewhere, to the group as if they've been here forever. And, you had some new faces on the back end, and Elias Salamonson, of course, transitioning from Sweden. You had Fabian Wagner join the group kind of in the early stages and not expected, but he joins, and he, of course, has a big impact, especially the last few months. From that perspective, just kind of welcoming those guys and, guys that are fellow Jets draft picks and that sort of thing. How did it feel to kind of welcome them and bring them into the fold here in the Moose?
Yeah, I think that's a really special and unique part of our group. I look back to when I first came in and the group of guys that brought me in, Jimmy Oligny, Jeff Malott was here, Nick Jones, Chris Reichel, some of these guys that aren't here anymore, but the culture remains. I'm sure they could say the same thing about the guys when they were coming in, right? Like it's the culture that has been built around here. And it's special to be a part of. So, we want to keep that going forward. These guys come in, especially some of the Europeans, and it's hard. It's a new language, it's a new style of game, and we understand that there's a lot going on in the head of a young hockey player. So we want to make sure that everything we can do when they're at the rink, even away from the rink, if it's a dinner, just make them feel welcome, so that they can put their best product on the ice.
A lot of cool moments around, the team this year, but one of the coolest had to be Parker Ford getting his first National League goal in his home city. Just take me through what that was like being on the road with him, seeing him get that call up and seeing what he did up with the Jets.
Yeah, unbelievable. Like, I almost don't have words. Obviously, Parker's my roommate, so we've lived together the last 2 years. We've shared a lot of memories together. It's the dream. It's the dream, and he did it. We've talked about it, we've laughed about it. It always seems like it's, maybe within an arm's reach, but he did it. And when he did it, it was really special. And seeing him being able to do it in front of his hometown, essentially, watching him go and hug his family and his parents, it was emotional. It was emotional for him, and it was emotional for me too to see that and see him accomplish that, especially after all we've been through. So much love for Parker, and it was well deserved.
In terms of you get you were the Richard Bowie first ever winner of that award, and we know everybody who follows the Moose knows how important Richard was to this organization. So what does it mean to you to have received the honor as the first player to ever get that?
This is it's emotional for me, Dave. Like you said, Richard was before my time, but so many of the staff and some of the players, had the opportunity to work with him and meet him and know him as a person and a friend. And you know what? I almost feel like I know him a little bit because of that. Like the legacy, it's alive and well. Guys have stories all the time. Like he's constantly being talked about, and like you can tell what he said here and what he meant to this organization. Having Sandra come out too and present that award that night was incredible. I'll never forget that experience. You could feel the weight of the moment, and I'm just really thankful. I'm really thankful, and I appreciate that. And it's a team. It's a team. I think it's a representation of the culture that we've set here. I honestly believe that award could have went to a lot of guys in that dressing room, just with how welcoming everybody is and the character we have in that room. So it was special.
One of the things you are also recognized for all the work you do in the community, and that doesn't come easy because you're a pro hockey player. It's easy to be selfish and focus on your career and just focus on what you're doing on the ice, but you chose to make a difference in the community constantly. And from your getting recognition for that, and I know you don't do that for the recognition, but what does it mean to be recognized, and what does it mean to you to be able to give back to folks in Manitoba?
Yeah, like you said, Dave, it's not about the recognition. It's about building relationships, and they say community service, but it means just as much or more to me. Being able to go out there, with a kids team and see their smiles. And how much how much they love the game and want to be out there and look up to you, going out and into the community and building these relationships with folks. It adds a lot of perspective, and it's just fun. You get to learn, you get to meet people. I feel like in our day-to-day it can be really repetitive in what we do, and don't get me wrong, it's fun, it's the best job in the world, but I like to get out there and I like to just, if I'm lucky enough to be standing here and doing this job, I want to pass on as much as I can and give back what I can, so that hopefully somebody else has the same opportunity.
And I guess probably last one for me, just in terms of your goaltending duo. I mean, you had the youngest goaltending duo in the AHL at points, obviously. And what did you see from Dom and Thomas? And I know obviously you have a deep connection to Thomas, obviously from dating back to the Seattle days. But what did you see from those two guys? And are you surprised? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to take that back because I know you're not going to be surprised based on the success they're having with this organization, but also what Thomas was able to do in the first two games with Norfolk, getting back-to-back shutouts.
Yeah, I saw that. I sent him a text. No, I the first thing I think of is the word composure. When they came in, our team was in a time of peril, really, like at tough stretches at times, and they were able to come in and give some composure back there. It would be easy to lose your head, or when you start looking ahead at what's going on around you. Like, it would be easy to get caught up in that. I think Tom and Dom did fantastic at staying composed and just going out there and giving us a chance to win every game.